Good night and welcome to Mindful Live 385. I am your co-host Nathan Springer, joined this evening tonight by my wonderful, beautiful, cute host Leora. Say good night, people. Tell the people good night. Good night. Yeah, what's going on, folks? It's the 26th of April in the beautiful Trinidad and Tobago in the Ever 2024. And we're live on Mindful Live. And, you know, here we talk about news, politics, culture, that kind of stuff. We were supposed to be here last night to, just have the discussion. But, for those who are in the, what you call that thing again, the server, they would know when and why lives are missed. Until then, you'd have to just guess it, I guess. But we're here tonight. Once you're inside the live, make sure you hit that like button, double tap the screen over there on TikTok. That's how you hit the like button there. Hit that screen 2 times. Tow, tow. Not so slowly, as fast as you can. And the more you do, the more likes go up. And the likes send out the notifications faster. It's telling the algorithm this is good stuff. So that's what the likes are there for. As per usual, it's not something we say every single time, in fact, very infrequently. But this is all brought to you by Mindful Education, the educational institution that I run. We offer learning pods, which are small homeschool styled classes for students from learning stages, preschool all the way up to CXC. So if you know a student that's interested in full-time or part-time in such things, homeschool geared stuff, or we also offer private tuition, one-on-one teaching for most CXC and CAPE subjects. So if you're interested in that, jump in. You're amused by watching yourself there, Lily? All right, what news we talking about tonight? Well, tonight in the news. Today in the news. Yes, that's a you. I saw a certain, influencer that was making his mark all around the nation a couple years ago. But during that time when he was making his mark, some of us out there who understand mathematics. Thank you, Jenny Kellis. Some of us who understand mathematics were like, well, this maths is not adding up. Sir Fireflame, I'm not intending to call any names, sir. But the maths obviously was not mathing back then. But some people seem to ignore the reality of economics and mathematics and went in fully. Yes, I saw that Chris Scott, the man is on Instagram being disrespectful. But with the kind of money that is alleged to be owed here, if I was him, I was staying in whatever other country I find myself in and not returning. Trinidad is a dangerous country. And for $500,000, there's a lot could happen for $500,000 in this country. Unrelated, ooh. Yikes. Unrelated, but I have that exact Monopoly board with all the pieces 2007, I think. Well, that Monopoly board, Janae Kellis, is not mine. That's my wife's own. A Barbie Monopoly, Oh, Disney. My bad, sorry. People like too much fast money. Hey, what's the name of the track playing in the background? I'm not sure. I'd have to go over to my playlist and watch it. Caribbean Moolah. Yes, he did say that, Fireflame. The man is in the comments disrespectful out here. Otis says people like too much fast money, and that's a fact. That's a fact. You know, let me read the headline first, and then I'd say what some of the stuff that came with it. 7 friends demand 500,000 repayment in alleged Ponzi scheme. A well-known social media influencer is facing a possible lawsuit. After 7 people claim they were enticed into entering a Ponzi/pyramid scheme because of the high returns it offered. And you know, when this story broke, I saw someone over on X saying something like, "This is proof." That old school, yeah, bro, this radio, good stuff. I hope you can share your opinion on the Laventil Port of Spain reclamation project sometime. Okay, will do. Chris Scott, what page it on? I had a see. Yeah. I saw someone over on X saying that, you know, this is proof. When you look at the amount of money people invested in this is proof we need better education on economics in Trinidad and Tobago. And I'm like, you all need to stop. You all need to behave yourselves. This modern idea that anything wrong can be educated away, and anybody who is doing something foolish, it's just the fault of a lack of education or ignorance, is wrong. People do foolish things and wrong things all on their own, all while fully knowing and understanding that it's wrong, you know. These people who spent the money on this project weren't the people at the ignoramus levels in society, let's say, the expected ignoramuses in society. No, these were people with access to $100,000. You would suppose that if you have access to liquid $100,000, you would suppose that they know how to use that money sensibly. The 7, all friends and family, want a full and final settlement of $550,000 by May 10th to avoid costly litigation. The demand came in a pre-action protocol letter sent by attorneys for the 7. They said they were introduced to a scheme represented as a sustainable, no risk wealth creation opportunity, and made their initial contribution of $25,000. First up, what on earth kind of investment scheme has no risk? Chris Scott says we need a financial literacy subject in school. I don't disagree that financial literacy would help in schools in terms of taxes, etc., etc. But things like this aren't the fault of financial literacy. It's not that these people were financially illiterate. You look at the offer, they go through it. The primary benefit of this membership was a monthly cashback of 10% of the membership value, with such cashback being payable at the end of every calendar month. So this guy went out there and promised these people that they invest $25,000 and they're going to get 10% returns monthly. Torres says AI was the flowers when the people of lesser means would have gotten caught. It was the flowers. I wish, Fireflame says, I wish in a hotel with 2 of the best women money could buy people too damn dotish. Jenny Kelly says, I've studied business for 4 years. CSAC and keep financial literacy isn't a topic, but risk is a key topic. Financial literacy, when people say that, they assume that there's there could be probably a curriculum of economic topics that could be taught to children that would make them not fall prey to financial schemes and to the difficulties of financial systems as they get older. But the reality is there may not be something directly as such. And what most financial schemes used, at least in modern times, isn't really ignorance. You know, a lot of these financial schemes, what they're using is a bit of greed. How do you expect, where do you expect to invest $25,000 and just get back $2,500 every month? How does something like that happen? What happens to the $25,000 that allows it to be able to pay you back $2,500 monthly? What happens to it? And here's how I think they knew very well where the money was supposed to come from. The letter said there was a referral program which would see members receiving a bonus payment of $10,000 for every $100,000 paid into the membership. One of the 7 bold stood there by early returns paid on another $75,000 into the scheme, and also referred family and friends, some of whom the letter added paid $100,000 to get the bonus payment. Chris Scott says that guy is Trinidad B. Madoff. And to me, I wouldn't even rate him as a Madoff character. I wouldn't rate him as a Madoff character because I don't think what he did was even very skillful. I don't think the guy was particularly charismatic. I don't think the guy was particularly convincing. I could have said this. The first video I saw of the guy, I could have said 3 years down the road, I knew this is where this is going to end up. The first video. And many of these people fully understand that they're aiming at a Ponzi scheme. That's what upset me with some of these things. The people with this and the people with the flowers and those things, they know they're getting into a Ponzi scheme. A lot of them know that it's a dishonest something that is being run. But they are hoping that they would be the ones to get out of it on top. Now, if you go into something knowing that it's advantageous, all right, there are 1,000 of us who enter this scheme, and we understand the nature of the scheme. 100 of us are going to benefit, and 900 of us are going to be left without. I am hoping I am in the 100. If at the end of the scheme, when the chips fall as they may, it turns out that I am in the 900 that loses, and I'm not in the 100 that benefits, who is supposed to feel sorry for me? Who is supposed to feel sorry for me legitimately? Because my intention at the very jump of it was to make money off of someone else's misfortune. If it just so happens that it becomes my own misfortune now, then that seems like nearly comeuppance. The maths never matched. The question I always ask with these things, and I remember in a live, Grand Night Glenroy Dennis. It's funny, in a live, someone was asking me, I can't even remember the name of the thing. The thing that lasted, 2 weeks or something in Trinidad and then folded up and disappeared. And someone was asking me about that in a live. And my question to all of these things is, how does it make money? Figure out, how does it make money? So, okay, this business tells you if you put in $50,000, they're going to give you back $1,000 every month. Okay, how are they doing that? What are they doing with the $50,000 that would make it capable of distributing you $1,000 back per month? And not just all drying up by the time you reach 50 months. How does it make money? And if the making of the money is dependent on other people coming in, it's a Ponzi scheme. This flowers program that was going on. Listen, I am nearly, I'm not saying I am nearly happy every person lost their money in that. Because when people were describing that there is no possible way for several people to put money into a joint pot and for the money to increase for everyone. When people were explaining that, obviously, they jumped out. People were defending this nonsense. And I remember some people tried to make it a race thing. What the black people and the black people and the black people and their investment scheme and blah, blah, blah. What are you talking about, Glenroy Dennis? Glenroy Dennis, I feel like you come into the live sometimes with an imagination full of things that you just intend on typing them out by the time the live is done. But yeah, I am honestly not sure how much sorry to feel. Yo, Daniel Knight, you didn't miss much. We were talking about the Trinidadian guru investor who promised the nation that whatever they invest, he is going to give them 10% monthly returns. Listen, Theon says I stopped telling people about Ponzi scheme. They always respond with you trying to fight them down. I'm telling you, it's like the fellas who going into the bad girl who you know going and chew them up and spit them out. It's like the girls who going around the fella who you know is trouble. And then they come to ask you about it, and you know very well when you tell them the truth, they're going to fight you down about it. You are running in to give your money away to these people. Yeah. Daniel, I understand how people are still getting caught, you know they are getting caught, they are greedy. They want to be the ones to come out with the money. Nathan, it's no different to the people in church who believes tithes for prosperity. No. Are you an idiot, Glenroy Dennis? Are you an idiot? People who give money as alms and tithes in church in a religious situation, they don't believe that the money magically goes out in an economic form and grows as an investment. What foolishness are you talking? Be gone. Moving on from that, though, into an issue that is being highlighted right now in Parliament, but the opposition is strangely missing from the entirety of the issue. A Big Sawati allowed benefits. Big Sawati. JSC and contractor for 4.14 highway. A Big Sawati allowed benefits. A Big Sawati allowed Brazilian contractor OAS Construtora special benefits in the $7.5 billion 0.14 highway project. And state-owned development company NIDCO, the project manager, acted as just a rubber stamp. This led to downright janjat, chaos and confusion in the overall execution of the contract. So said Renuka Sagram Singh Suklal, member of the Joint Select Committee on Land and Physical Infrastructure at yesterday's sitting of the JSC, which is conducting an inquiry into the .14 contract. The opposition maintained its boycott of this inquiry, and its two members, Barry Padarath and Anil Roberts, did not attend yesterday's meeting. And I find that poor. I find that very poor. Because to me, of nearly all of the public forums we have around in our political system that yield no fruit, to me the JSC is one of the better ones, because at least it doesn't really cost us anything new. We don't have to jump out fresh money for this one. It's, we already paying these parliamentarians. Let's put them in a job. to actually do a job. Go and ask some questions. Good. I mean, if you think this thing is all politics, well, then go and ask questions to prove it's all politics. When you're talking, and this is the same issue I had with Dr. Rowley talking about Dr. Munilal's allegations of corruption when he spoke about his flights. Now, to be fair to Dr. Rowley, he actually at the end answered and said that he estimates some amount of billion he believes was returned to the country due to his flights, etc., etc. I might be interested to get a more direct breakdown of some of that, but at least he proffered an answer. How do you tell me here that you believe the government is using this as a re-election campaign? Because that's the reasoning they gave. This is all an election campaign maneuver. So we're not taking part in it. Now, the government is run by a political party. Political parties are in the business of winning elections. Of course, what the government does is going to have an election campaigning angle to it. Duh. Of course. How is that reason for you not to hold the responsibility you were given the duty of doing? How is that good reasoning? The government is attempting to win an election, so that means we aren't going to do our job. What rubbish am I hearing? That excuse does not stand up. Because even if the government is attempting to do an election campaign maneuver, you being absent doesn't remove it from being an election campaign maneuver. It might be, I think some of this might be that it would have been impossible for UNC MPs to sit there and ask legitimate questions without seeming as if they're trying to obscure the answers from the public. Like, what questions would they have asked? Chris Scott, relax. PNM is in no accountability party. We aren't talking about PNM here. Put down your party card, take off the yellow jersey. We're talking sensibility in this life. This isn't about the PNM. This is two UNC MPs refusing to go and have a JSC about one of the biggest corruption scandals in our country's history. If from that, the only answer and reply you can have is the PNM, then you are a sad case already. They already convinced you, and you are unable to see things legitimately because they have bitten you with their political fangs. This isn't about the PNM here. We speak about the PNM on a regular. Don't worry, we'll have our time to lambast the PNM. Don't worry, I lambast them all. But this is about the guy from Princestown and the swimming coach refusing to go and do their jobs to bring accountability to the nation. And I think the problem is, what questions would they have asked? Like, can you even picture Mr. Anil Roberts, Mr. Barry Padra in that JSC? What questions would they have asked? They couldn't ask any questions. If they asked pertinent questions, I think it may make the UNC look bad. If they ask obscuring questions, it again makes the UNC look bad. So the best thing for us to do is stay out of it. Where do we as a nation hold them accountable? I think one of the primary things we need to do to hold them accountable is understand exactly who they are and what they do, so that we do not buy into the the promises and words that are quickly given at different varying times and sway public view like that. I think some of the things we can do is become much more self-reliant, understand that the government isn't there to solve all of your issues. And the less you look to the government to solve your issues, the less power the government has. One of the problems I think we always run into in Trinidad, when we see horrible actions by a group of politicians on one side, we think the solution is to get another group who is stronger to go in there and punish that group. Not understanding that for this group to be stronger, what we effectively do is give them more power. And then when they go in there with more power, they have more power over all of us. So maybe the solution isn't looking for the perfect politician to go in there and solve all of the issues for us, but as much as we can in every avenue that we are given the opportunity to get it, take back power for ourselves. The GSC went into a lot of detail. I'd urge you to go actually read some of this and see what exactly went on in some of that Point Fortin highway business. The fact that they selected OAS in the first place, while OAS was already in some bacchanal in Brazil, it could nearly seem like someone was of the interest of selecting good night. Hey, good night, the goddess. What's up? How things in paradise? Have to pass down there sometime, missing some fruits. We have to realize that the government works for us. We don't work for the government. We elect them. Correct. That's true. But the problem with that versatile car care also is that in thinking with the reality that the government works for us, if we attempt to give the government too much work to do, we freezing, all right? If we attempt to give the government too much work to do, effectively, good night, Rose Petal Angel, what that effectively is giving the government more power. So, here's what I mean by that. Daniel Knight says, I like to watch Public Accounts GSC and the Public Enterprise Accounts GSC. I know you watched that because you were the one who pointed me to that correction on the property tax. Chris Scott says, Uncle Jack have to answer for that electing of OAS. He was the Minister of Works at that time. But, Chris Scott, I don't believe... Alright, let me dial back to not stray too far. Let me tell you what I mean. So, let's say we give the government the power to... Here's an example. Here's an example, and this is a heartbreaking example. It's a story that I'm going to dive into here. Out of the, I don't know how many of you are keeping up with the amount of babies that they are saying have died from the hospital. There's been another addition to that story. Attorneys, baby died after being denied NICU entry. This is the Freedom Law Chambers has provided the NWRHA with a list of 21 premature babies who have died at the Port of Spain General Hospital in the last 2 years, 17 of whom died in the last 4 months. Parents of 14 of those babies have so far sent pre-action protocol letters to the NWRHA. The information was contained in the latest pre-action protocol letter sent to the NWRHA on behalf of Wendy Bravo 37, whose daughter Lily Marie died after just 2 days. Unlike the other mothers, Bravo said her daughter was never admitted to the NICU despite being born after just 26 weeks. Here's where it's at. Here's where it's at in what I'm talking about with giving government power. I don't even want to read through this story because it's extremely sad. It's an extremely sad story. The mother was treated with scant disregard, according to her side of it, by the nurses and doctors in the hospital. She was facing difficulties all along. They disregarded her. When she went into the hospital, they didn't do the tests that she asked them to do. They told her where she was at. They knew what was going on and they told her where she was at. When she went down to give birth, they told her, you don't worry about that. There's nothing going on yet. She had to insist. Eventually, they pulled her diaper aside and saw that the baby's head was already breaching. When the baby was delivered, a nurse came and told her the baby going to die, so they're not carrying the baby to NICU, so they gave her back the baby and she just had to comfort the baby and die. The baby still lived for 2 days, breathing, passing stool and urinating. So the estimation of the baby's death by the healthcare staff was wrong. But this is what happens when the government has the power. You see, the government is helping us with healthcare. Our healthcare is a government healthcare. The government pays. So then the government is the customer. They have the power. It's their money. So let's say there's a policy where babies under 26 weeks, we aren't even going to bother with that because it's just going to cost too much money for too little result. It's going to be a decision that can be made from a government level. You can't go in there and say my 26-week baby is different and unique. I am willing to spend money to get it done. No, you can't do that because you don't pay directly. Aaron Hassett says it's not their money, it's taxpayers' money, and you're right. But the taxpayers don't pay it. It's the same problem we run into with BlackRock, with State Street, with nearly all of those financial companies where people invest their money. Okay, all of our NIB, when we pay our NIS every day, we pay a little bit of our salaries to NIS for our insurance scheme. The National Insurance Board takes that money and gives it to State Street or BlackRock or some investment capital company, massive company out there. It's not BlackRock's money. It's Nathan Springer's little $50 NIS chip up over time. But Larry Fink and those guys at the head of BlackRock, they decide how to invest that money. It is not their money. Yes, of course, it's not theirs, but the power of where to allocate the money is theirs to do. Aaron Hassett says, who gives the government the power? Who gives the government the power is the police and the army, actually. You're supposing it's the votes. No, it's not the votes. No one in Trinidad, absolutely nobody in Trinidad could go out on election day and vote for a soul. Do you think the government is going to fold up the day after election? Is that going to happen? Since it's the voters that give the government the power, can we take it away? Can we say, okay, we are not going to vote, nobody votes, and if nobody votes, nobody gets the governing reins? Is that how it works? Is it? Or is it on election day, you go into a room? No, I'm not buffing you about it, Aaron Hassett. It's just how I speak. You're probably not very familiar with it. I'm not buffing you. I'm speaking as it were through the comments you're making. Or is it that on election day, we go into a room with two pre-approved groups at the top of the ballot that we could select either or of them, but one of the two of them are going to be ruling at the end of the day. And you don't actually have a say in if it's none of them. You could probably try to have a say in if it's one of them, but you can't make it be none of them. So then you don't actually have the power. Mr. Loso says, what's the sense in voting? Keelan Salamat says, well, what if everybody decides to stop working? That That's a whole different thing. But I don't think it's everybody needs to stop working. I think it's everybody needs to start working. Daniel Knight says also, even though in 2025 no one goes out and votes, the existing government remains in power for 3 months. But what happens if the entire country doesn't vote for general elections? As in, if there isn't one vote cast, that's almost surely not going to happen. If very few people vote, it's just going to be very few people decide who's going to win. Because at the end of the day, the politicians themselves vote. So even if all of the citizens don't vote, they will vote themselves in. But yeah, Keelan Salamat, I think it's more like everybody needs to start working. Not everybody needs to stop working. And that's the thing I was saying. I think some of the problems we end up in is because we ask the government for a bit too much. We ask the government for too much. And by asking the government for more, we are giving them more power. This very unfortunate and sad case here of the 26-week-old baby that died. This public sector health care, you look over in Canada and see some of the end of this, where you aren't the customer, the state is the customer, and you are just the beneficiary. That goes down a scary line. I don't know anything about that Keenan Liverpool. I think if we want to see some of these things undone, we need to be independent more. To treat it more as if this country is ours. We aren't brought in here as outsiders in the people country. We have a lot of people have a very colonial mindset. That's my personal opinion. That's why I think we see littering and stuff like that so much around. Lots of people treat Trinidad like, you know, I am a sojourner here. This isn't really my home. I'm an African. Like, if I'm going to go back to Africa at some time, and I'm an Indian really and truly, I'm going to go back to India and just take the benefits I get out of this land and carry it back. That's how many people treat it. That colonial mentality that's still there. And the more you want Big Daddy government to take care of you, the more daddy-ish the government gets. And to go on one of my pet topics, I think that's why we see in this country, how much Heinz said? Heinz 9,500 private citizens await FUL renewals. Await FUL renewals. Currently, about 5,000 people were currently authorized to use firearms, apart from the protective services. That's because we are in a colony. In a colony, they can't arm the citizens of a colony because it's a foreign nation that controls a local people. But if it's a local people that controls a local people, if all the local people are armed, it's just an armed army of local people. Keenan, stop spamming me, please. So that's the colonial evidence there. That's the colonial evidence there, right there. 5,000 people. And of those 5,000 people, I wouldn't doubt a lot of them are government ministers, their family, their friends and associates. So it's nearly like we're still in a colonial setting where a very few people at the top of the society have all the arms. Because at the end of the day, when it all comes down to it, like when I said the government gets their power from the police and the army, at the end of the day, when it comes down, the power for the state and its enforcement comes out of the barrel of a gun. So when the state is doing ridiculous nonsense, they could afford to do ridiculous nonsense when they know they and their functionaries are the only armed people in society. Keelan, our accountability is exactly what I'm talking about. A lot of people in Trinidad always ask for a government solution. People dying on the roads through carnage on the roads. Instead of talk to drivers and try to talk to drivers, the government have to do something. Why the government didn't do something? Why the government and the government? Okay. You ask and ask and ask, the government come in, start to implement the merit points and force you to pay somebody, some maybe friend of somebody, force you to pay them to undo your demerit points. That's the government working for you. Does that make the road safer? Of course, no. But it makes us less free. It gives more power to the government, but we ask for that. Exactly, Dream Chase. And I hope that at least some of my program does some of that. Allow people to understand that the only solution for everything isn't the government. That's not the first solution. Every time someone sees an issue happen, something negative in society, some difficulty, why the government? Hug says, when we're finished with this topic here, I want us to address the shameful 10K reward for the shark. Hey, let me jump into Sharky Boy. Where's Sharky? Oh, Shark. Oh, Shark. 7 beaches closed after shark attack in Tobago. A swath of beaches along the northwestern coastline of Tobago, spanning from Pigeon Point to Plymouth, has been ordered closed. That wouldn't be have been ordered closed to the public after a British tourist was injured in a shark attack. Chief Secretary Farley Augustine, in a Facebook post, said 7 beaches have been temporarily closed after reports of a shark being spotted in the Grafton Beach area. Shark in Bago. And I mean, it's not initially humorous because someone was critically injured, I believe. I don't know his current state in the hospital. I hope he survives. But they recalled the bounty. I just saw that article. I saw the recalling of the bounty. I saw that right before I started the live. Someone showed me that they recalled the bounty. Because initially, I heard that there was a $10,000 bounty out on Sharky. There was initially a $10,000 bounty that they put out on Mr. Shark. Mr. Shark was wanted, dead or alive. $10,000 reward to capture Shark. And listen, it already had a flyer too. It already had a flyer. $10,000 reward. Now, personally, for me, I find 10,000 was too small. My opinion. Like, if we want to go down the road of bounty on Sharky, let me get it thing real hot and real sweaty in the mix. Throw 100,000 at it. Like, get people to really jump in the, like, $10,000. If you have a boat and your boat down on what they call that area down on the end of Chaguaramas, the island homeowners, you out there and you're hearing about this story, and 10,000 not going to make you leave your home and go and start up your boat. 100,000 will. Like, if you all really and that might have been a spectacle. That might have been a spectacle. 10,000 is nothing. What kind of you wicked to give 10,000 for a shark? If the shark bite me, it's going to cost me more than $10,000 in everything that's going to be done to fix this. Nah. I need to get my my harpoon guns and stuff ready. Do the thing for real. do the thing for real, but they recall the $10,000. $10,000 shark bounty retracted. The $10,000 bounty put out by the Tobago House of Assembly to capture the shark involved in an attack this morning has been retracted. This was announced by Chief Secretary a short while ago in a news conference. He also revealed that the 7 beaches that were closed today will remain closed tomorrow. They are Plymouth, Corland Bay, Blackrock, Mount Irvine, Buku, Pigeon Point, Storbay, and all coastal areas in between. He said the relevant experts will continue to monitor the situation regarding the bull shark. Hey, RL says the helicopter ride round Tobago alone to spot the shark is 5,000 TT. You see, what 10,000 doing? Like, let's get the thing serious. If we want to catch the shark, let me catch the shark. Ah. And something I saw going back to a previous story, but it's quite sad to leave a whole continent to come here and experience such a tragedy. Yes, that is sad on behalf of the visitor. On the issue of the corruption allegations coming out of the Point Fortin Highway, I'm seeing here the Joint Consultative Council concerned about Robert Stamp talk, and they're saying here that what they want is they want names to be called. Good night, Friday forever. Well done, Dalip Jairam. Your hands strong. And I find that curious too. Because good night. Because nearly all of the talk that is coming out of this GSC, no names are being called. Like, what would the point be if at the end of it we just hear some salacious information, but we don't even know who it's about? No names are called. The Wassa issue where Wassa was locking off people, well, men at Wassa were locking off people's connection in some village in South for a while in the Siparia region. And they were locking off their connection and selling them backwater for years. Wassa promised a name and shame something, but no names were called. Isn't that something? No names were called. Who are the names of these people? Yeah, Friday forever. We finished speaking about that a little while back. You could head over to YouTube and you'd catch the live, the entire live. You could catch it on repeat. If you miss anything, you know, you jump in there and you could rewind and catch that. Make sure you subscribe to Nathan Springer over there on YouTube. Alright, lamb on YouTube, other people have to lose in order for the few to make, but I think the government can implement ads on TV to educate citizens, because some people generally get caught up in it without knowing the risk. That man is 22 years old, what do he really know about investing? Nathan, that's why I trust you somewhat, because you at least tackle both sides. Thank you. Might as well vote. The problem is everybody's slate never clean. Call one name, they will call another. Yup. And isn't that convenient for them? If their slates are all considered erasable because of the fact that their slates are all dirty, isn't that a convenient thing? Everybody in the business is crooked, and because everybody in the business is crooked, that means our crookedness never catches up with us. Isn't that just convenient for us? Love how that works, don't you? Hey, Alia, here they found Ravi dog in a day. You know, sometimes the police just happen to work better. In some cases, you know. Coincidence, maybe? And the Kunupia senior cop is saying, no. This has nothing to do with special treatment. Ravi B's dog just so happened to have been one that was easily recoverable. I think something like 6 officers worked on it, but you know, that's how our police work. Our police are that kind of serious force to reckon with. Don't go stealing dogs out there. Actually, they didn't, Daniel Knights. As far as I know, this was all TTPS. You know, I've been thinking, I hope they're paying that hunters group, you know. I hope that hunters group is getting proper remuneration, because they have been working. Definitely, that's for sure. Ace Ventura. We have an Ace Ventura in the TTPS that we don't know about. And Ace went out there and got it back in a lickety split. Jumping into something much more serious on that crime front though. DB businessman 40 shot dead in front of home. Now, I don't always just read random crime stories, but there's something interesting about this story. He was the owner of a Cyborg International at SS Erin Road, DB. Now, isn't there a Cyborg International in Shugwarners? Is this like a franchise branded something out there? I don't know. But he was murdered right as he entered his home at around 11:05 p.m. His silver Toyota Aqua car was seen with several bullet holes. The police found $4,500 in the car and 20.556 ammunition on the scene. You know what's interesting in it? At the end of the story, the investigators believe the motive was robbery. I'm confused. 5.56 ammunition is rifle ammunition. They found 20. So they came to rob a man with a rifle. Okay, not that that's impossible. That's not impossible. But okay, it's unorthodox that you're coming to rob a guy with a rifle. I suppose if you murdered him, they would have to say he resisted. He resisted, so you shoot him. You shoot him 20 times with a rifle because he resisted a robbery. And then after that, you don't steal or rob the $4,500 cash in the car, nor steal the most stealable car in Trinidad, a Toyota Aqua. I guess if you are in charge or you're doing blood work out there, you're killing people for cash. Having officers who quickly just misrepresent what it might be may be of a great benefit. Because I don't know, but that just doesn't make sense. I think it's a good introduction, though, to something that I saw Senator Naked speak about. And we were talking recently about who in Parliament we feel might throw down some fists. I think this man will easily do it. Naked, inaction on Scott report led to ruin in Trinidad and Tobago, saying Trinidad and Tobago was hurt more by drug trafficking than the 1990 attempted coup. I agree with that, actually. Just by the way, I agree with that. Opposition Senator David Naked said on April 22nd that past inaction over the 1987 Scott drug report had led to devastation in Trinidad and Tobago. He was in the Senate speaking on Independent Senator Anthony Vieira's motion to overhaul the Commission of Inquiry Act. The impact of the drugs flowing into our country has had more of an impact on this country than the youths of this country and the youths of this country than anything else that has passed. What came of that Scott report? What came of that report? He said recommendations of such reports must be enacted. If you leave legislation lax, especially in a country in which we admit is rife with corruption from inception, what are you going to expect people to do? The Scott drug report, names were mentioned, people that still exist, billionaires at present, who came from middle class means. He said he knew them, as did his father based on his heritage. We never prosecuted that case as we should have. He urged a $1 million fine and jail for non-appearance at commissions of inquiry, which are held for serious matters like the drug trade. I remember coming into TT from university in Washington, D.C., and I was shocked. I left in 1982 and I came back in 1987-88 and could not believe the crack epidemic that was present. Naked said people close to him were hurt by the drug epidemic. And you know, this is all factual. That, to me, points to when you see guys like Fitzgerald Hines and those older politicians speak about crime as if they're so ignorant about what's going on now and we don't know, you know, we're really trying to do new things. And they were there back in the 80s and 70s when they saw all of this start from the ground up. They know the players by name. Those guys come to some of the functions. They are not ignorant of these things. It's not lack of knowledge because it's been known since the 80s. And nothing has been done. It's not what you know, it's what you can prove. What if you don't care to prove it? What if the people who are responsible for proving it don't want to prove it? The attorneys don't, the people in charge of getting the proof don't want to prove it. So then what? Then what do we do? Any questions or comments on the inside, people? Looking to head to a wrap up there. They saw it morphed, Lamb says over on YouTube. That's true. Yep, they did. I'm sure if you were able to sit down in an off-the-record conversation with someone of those old politicians, Dr. Rowley himself, he may be able to tell you about occurrences that may raise your paws, that may shock you. Yes, he did, Otis. Hines admitted in a live press conference that someone offered him a bribe in his office. Yes, he admitted that, and then never called the name. Abu Friday says those are the ones who finance politics and own conglomerates. Now, you see, the world is a strange place, you know. There are wealthy families. There are allegations that, for example, the Kennedy family made a lot of their money, allegedly, in trading opium in a time where it was legally gray. Some of those wealthy families made money doing some shady stuff, but then they use the money to invest it into something that looks much more proper. And you're wondering, how on earth did they be? You don't know. It's bootlegger Sylvan, right. I knew it was something shady. They said there are allegations against the Bushes and how they made their money too. But what's one of the things, especially in those American families, the way they do it very often, one of the things you tend to see happen is the shady one would make the money and then through the generations create a couple good ones to try and buffer it through. Like, that was the story in a sense of The Godfather. The Godfather was attempting, if I remember the movie correctly, to kind of do that through his son. One son was supposed to be clean, so, you know, when he came back to take over everything, that his nose would be clean, there would be no kind of criminal link. And who knows, by the grandson, you might have somebody in politics. Who knows if that happens here in Trinidad? Maybe it does. How would we know? Further questions or comments before I dive out? Or is that it? I guess that's it. In that case, people, I bid you farewell. I'll see you guys again for the next Mindful Live, which is going to be Monday. Until then, people, so we're basically looking for something that will never happen. Until then, people, hold it down. Stay good, stay well. I am Nathan Springer. This has been the Mindful Live. Somebody says that business in Davie blew up very fast. What business you talking about, sir? What you all talking about out there? I'm out. Hold it down, people. Enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. Stay inside. Don't study them people outside sketchy. Outside sketchy. Don't go outside. Stay inside. Mind your family. Later, people. I hope you're educated.